Hey everybody, Josh Greider. Here's the bad truth. Bad Truth Podcast got renewed for season 2, and you're listening to it right now.
From the celebrated Yellow Dog Studios in the heart of Wimberley, Texas, you're listening to the Bad Truth Podcast with your hosts Michael and Adam.
We're going to have a science debate soon.
Nah. I'm in. Let's do it.
If we're going to go there, you might as well. Well, we won't make it a big deal of it.
We'll talk about the facts of like flat Earth and
the flat Earth
the fake
society.
moon.
Yeah. I guess if you're in West Texas, you would think the Earth is flat.
It is.
What would indicate different?
Because no one ever leaves there.
What Joey Lee said.
Has anyone left Lubbock?
Lots of people have left Lubbock, and they all sing about it.
Yeah. If you leave Lubbock, you have to write a song about it.
Right.
Lubbock or leave it.
Lots of them.
Man,
You left Lubbock?
yeah, I did.
I left
What
Lubbock.
are you talking about?
I'm telling, but
Look at us.
I didn't grow up there.
True.
True. I didn't grow up there.
Lloyd left.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like going back in time. It really is like going back in time, and their TV is like the future. Whenever the time they turn on the cable, it's like this is the future.
It's like, no, it's now.
Yeah.
My sister-in-law moved to Lubbock. They live out there now. They moved to Lubbock.
Why?
Time travel.
Yeah, that was my answer to them. That was my response. Was like, to Lubbock? You're moving to Lubbock?
Time travel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We can't bash Lubbock because Adam still has people there.
Dude, you still have people there.
Like I say, I've got people there now.
Yeah.
I think my mom still lives there.
No matter how bad Lubbock is, Oklahoma still looks up to it.
Hey-o.
Hi-yo.
It's 3.2 of okay.
Hey, Mike.
Adam.
Who's that guy that's in this room with us?
We doing this now?
Look at that. We've been doing this. Come
All
on.
right. Well, we have a very special guest today. Season 2.
Season 2. We made season 2.
This is the premiere.
This is the first episode.
The network screwed up and they signed us again thinking we were somebody else.
It's that classic thing. Before the show comes out, they signed us for season 2, and now they're like, what?
Yeah. Well, it started off great and then it just kind of petered out for the next 11 episodes.
Yeah.
It's a straight decline.
Hopefully this one will have 0 listens.
Okay. Cool. Well, today, Season 2, Episode 1. Very, very special guest. It's our first guest also.
Our first guest.
And we don't have anything for him.
We are honored to have you in this room with us, sir.
We have Mr. Brendon Edgar Tates. What? Tates.
Tates?
What's your name? He has 12 names. We have Brendon Anthony here today. I'm excited.
We're going to have applause right there.
Yeah. Old bandmate for 1,000 years.
Session player in my world.
Mm-hmm. Married, family. Mm-hmm. Great job. What did I go wrong?
Well, it could be Chipotle.
Brendon, how you doing?
I'm doing great. I can't believe I'm your first guest. Really? Is that right? I've heard the liner notes. Maybe that's where I thought people have been.
We've been hyping that we're going to have guests, not knowing if we were ever going to get guests.
Well, I'm honored. I can't believe I'm the first guest on. I've listened to the podcast. I guess I haven't. You're right. I guess you're right.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this: listening to the podcast is just like being back on the bus again, isn't it?
I listened to an episode that was about the van, about tour bus woes, I think it was.
Yeah,
and I was quoting the things you were going to say before you said them to the guy in the car who rode back with me. Had no idea about this, and I was like, he's dead on. These things happened. I was sitting right next to him for 95% of them.
They're timeless things, and you know what? They're still happening because I'm getting the same response from bands that are just been out for a while, going like, "Oh my God, we're listening to this in the van." And it got awkward.
Nothing ever changes.
Yeah. Boss man got real quiet, pretended he was sleeping.
Yes.
All right, what are we doing today? Oh.
What are we talking about?
We're going to talk about the Texas State of the Union.
The State of the Union.
As it concerns music, which is what we do. All right, you want to get into this?
Let's do it.
All right. This is a question that I asked you before we started. So, really, how important is music to Texas?
Well, that's a good question. As director of the Texas Music Office, I'm often asked that question. I mean, music's been one of Texas' greatest cultural exports for generations. People always, when you travel, you guys can probably attest to this. They say, I love Texas. I love Buddy Holly. I love Willie Nelson. I love George Strait, on and on. It's extremely important. It helps define us as a state. I mean, the fact that we have a Texas music office in the office of the governor at all is a pretty strong statement about how the state feels about it. We've put a lot of numbers to it. We've tried to answer that question as succinctly as we can. We're talking about 100,000 people who work in the music industry and education and music businesses, accounting for about $3.2 billion in earnings annually, hundreds of millions in taxable revenue to the state. I mean, this is a big business. Absolutely is.
Big financial impact,
Absolutely.
the music in the state.
And that's not counting the financial windfalls that things like South by Southwest and ACL and Fortress Fest now and the 150 plus other festivals, major festivals that go on every year in the state bring in. I mean, it's just, you can't overstate how big the industry is to
Well, that
Texas.
brings me to my next question is Austin the music capital of the world? Has it ever been the music capital of the world?
That's the real question right there. Has it ever been?
That's a good question.
It feels very self-proclaimed, and I know from my standpoint, I hear the oldsters talk about all the great stuff that had happened back in the day. Mm-hmm. But
When was that day?
when
People say back in the day, what are we talking about? Is that 10 years? Is that a unit of measurement?
it seems like it seems like to Austin hipsters, or not hipsters, but Austinites, old Austinites, it's the 70s, early 80s.
Yeah.
That's
No, you're
what they
right.
talk about. And they talk about the Armadillo World
When
Palace.
everyone had chickens on Congress.
Well, back when you had a lot of night workers on Congress, if you know what I mean. and
Ayo.
Our pay by the hour motels.
So is it the capital? Is it the music city capital?
Well, I think you're touching on something. I think before Nelson moved back from Nashville and decided to set up shop in Austin, it was a really kind of a button down place. I mean, you had the Texas legislature there, sure, but I imagine a real buzz cut and button down type place. I mean, there wasn't the cultural component then that there was soon afterwards. And yeah, you're talking about Armadillo World Headquarters, and then moving on through the 80s. Yeah, absolutely. Austin is not as old a music marketplace as Dallas is. That's for sure. I mean, that can't be disputed. And you said self-proclaimed. I mean, the city council got together in the 80s and said, we're the live music capital of the world. We're going to put a flag in, and great. That's it.
It worked.
It worked, but it was a marketing. It was a marketing tool. They used what was going on in Austin then to say, we got something really cool happening here, and they did. There's no denying it, but it was a self-proclaimed marketing tool.
And you had ACL.
Well,
Back
the TV
then.
show was huge.
That was
That's
the
right.
big thing right there. You had a show like that no one else was doing, consistently putting out quality entertainment of live acts.
And
Did they recently take
and Texas acts and sorry, Michael,
No,
but
go ahead.
right behind these really famous national acts that were from Texas was that Austin skyline, and people said, "Wow!"
Yeah.
And what followed after that in the 80s and 90s was Texas Connection and all these different shows that would highlight Austin and Austin acts.
I think Jerry Jeff did that, right?
Yeah.
That was filmed in Nashville.
Jerry hosted that. Yeah, not true. No,
Yeah.
that was filmed in Austin.
It was filmed in Austin?
Yeah.
Okay.
You said something right there that's key. ACL had the Austin skyline, which doesn't exist anymore.
It's
Yep.
just a bunch of cranes in the background.
Yeah,
And
and
the
these
you have
giant
the
top-
Capitol, and then you have cranes. That's the new backdrop.
That comes from back when it was no building can be taller than the Capitol
That
on the
ended.
hill, and I think
That's
there's-
forward thinking.
And now it's every building is taller than the Capitol.
Yeah, Austin's growing like crazy, and that makes it really hard for folks who you need. If you need folks who are creatives to live in your city to make it a creative center, it makes it really tough for them to live there. Affordability issue is just really tough.
And then I see, like last Saturday, we played in a one-to-one bar in Austin, and the band after us, I sat there and talked to the bass player for a little bit, and him and another band member are from Seattle, and they had just moved to Austin 6 months ago, and they couldn't believe, like, they got a little residency gig at the Handlebar for a bit and stuff, but he's like, man, we tried for 2 years to be playing original music in Seattle, and I couldn't do it. We couldn't do it, so we all packed up and moved to Austin just because we heard of this. And he goes, we got a residency, and now we're playing all the time, and now we're playing outside of Austin. So, a lot of people will complain about Austin being, it's overrun and nobody comes out to shows and stuff, but at least we still accept original music, and we still allow, we give people a chance, and that really isn't happening apparently in other cities and other states.
I'm glad to hear that. I think it's true. I think it's true in Houston. I think it's true in Dallas, but and San Antonio and Lubbock. I mean, there are a lot of communities that contribute to the music landscape in Texas. I mean, I'm glad to hear that people still feel like they can come into a city like Austin and make their mark. That's great. I hope that never changes.
And Fort Worth, I mean, I see South by Southwest has a Fort Worth showcase. I mean, you talk about a town that's sitting there and embracing their musicians and wanting to do the best for them, and I think that's awesome that you've got a city council that's saying, okay, we will get a stage during South by, and all week long, all we will have is Fort Worth bands, whether it's country, rock, bluegrass, everything. And we will showcase what our little city is doing. And I think that would be great if something like South by Southwest had more of that. Here's Lubbock, here's Amarillo, here's Abilene, here's this original music from these cities, and the cities actually embrace what they're creating.
Well, let me say this, and if you'll indulge me just a second. The reason that Fort Worth had that showcase is because the city of Fort Worth, a bunch of industry professionals in the city partnered with the CVB and got really intentional about how they were going to look after their industry community. And they formed, really, in my opinion, the second music-friendly community in the state. They seated a board. They called their organization Hear Fort Worth, HEAR Fort Worth. You can look them up online. And they partnered with the CVB, who's been tremendously important to them. And then that partnership led to that South by Southwest showcase. I mean, that group, I know who I can call right now in Fort Worth to understand the music landscape in that town. But I don't know who to call in Dallas right now. We're really working on that in Dallas and Denton and Houston and San Antonio. We need a much more interconnected music community in the state so that we can highlight things like that. That showcase at South by wouldn't have happened if that group hadn't formed that partnership with CVB and gotten really intentional about exporting what they do and telling their story. Absolutely.
So other cities need to step up.
100%. I mean,
the festival is here, and I know it brings people from all over the world, but we should also showcase what we have here. You think that would make sense? That's a no-brainer.
Well, showcasing's good, but when we talk about what it really means to be an industry-friendly community, Austin does have most other cities in the world licked when it comes to that. You look at a place like Austin. If I was a young guy who was going to come in with no money and I was going to start playing, I know that if I got sick in Austin as a musician, I could go to a group like Ham. I know if I had addiction problems, I could go to a group like Sims. I know if I wanted to continue my education as a music industry professional, I could go to a group like Austin Music Foundation. I know that if I wanted to really hone my craft and ask a patronage group for money to help me further my career through grants, I could go to Black Fret.
Yeah.
Name me another city in the country that does that.
That has all that, exactly.
Yeah, so my question to you is, should those organizations like Ham, et cetera, should they be statewide?
Absolutely they should.
Should they be connected instead of just Austin? It should be statewide then, right?
Absolutely. I think
because, So Brendon, I ask you, where's Anthony Care?
Yeah, right, exactly. Well,
start the Anthony Care. You heard it here first.
I think the Texas Music Office is working really hard to try to make that happen. I mean, I make connections between groups like Ham and Sims and AMF and Black Fret all over the state when I can. We set up conferences. We just did one in Corpus. We just did one in San Antonio this weekend, working on one in Denton. And we're taking representatives from those organizations down, and we're talking about all the stuff you need to know to be in the industry, sure. But we're also saying if you want to be a real community that supports your creative class, you've got to have these foundational elements in place. And you need to tie them all together with something. The Texas Music Office can be that. We have an unparalleled database. Information and connectivity are power, and we offer that.
I think it would be great if more local guys and throughout the state knew more about all the options that they had, and that if the ones who truly have art are the ones that are developing their craft, know that they can continue to do that and won't give up the dream because they got sick, or something happened. Some guys live in month to month or week to week, and something happens, and now they're about to lose everything, and they say, well, I can't continue to do this. I have to get another job, or I might have to move.
Absolutely.
And then you lost what may have happened.
Yeah, and you talk to Renee Collins, who runs Ham, and she'll tell you, the average salary or the average take-home pay net she's dealing with there is about $18,000 a year. That's tough. And these are people who they're doing music.
And especially in Austin itself. I mean, we all know how much the price of everything has gone up.
Yeah, it costs more here than Nashville to live.
Right. So what you said is very true. A guy like that gets sick, his credit's gone, and he's not playing music anymore. He's working at Home Depot.
Yep.
That's just the way it goes.
Yeah, talent lost, delayed. I don't know. When I think of when people say, the music capital of the world, I go, I don't know if it's the music capital of the world, but it's definitely the music festival capital of the world. But there's got to be more festivals in Austin than any other. I mean, I can't back that up with actual information, but it's got to be. I mean, every weekend there's a festival. There's something happening somewhere.
It's 1:15 on a Thursday, which means the third band of the day is probably on some festival right now.
We have airport festivals. There are bands playing at the airport right now.
I love that.
People come into town and they're like, I was sorry I'm late. I was watching a band before I got my bags.
Well, they did a good thing at the airport. That's set music up there. And they did a good thing at Love Field. Michael Clay and the Texas Music Project did a good thing in Dallas, setting that stage up too. I think it's great that people have a million places to play. What I don't think is great is that the only way people think they have to make money in the state is by playing live music. I think the only thing, the biggest contribution Texas has made is being a live music economy. You're right. We don't have those other rungs on the ladder in great abundance here.
You're talking about industry. We need more labels.
Yeah.
Where are the Texas-based labels?
Well, where the publishing deals happening in Texas? Well, not too many of them, right? Where are the real human relationships with PROs happening? Well, they're happening in Nashville or elsewhere. They're not happening here.
Exactly.
They've tried it though. They tried to have labels and subsidiaries here in the past. They
tried them with too big a footprint, and I think the guys who set them up, you're talking about Arista Austin and Tim Dubois' partnership with Bill Ham, that was a great idea, and powerful people got behind that. But what Dubois will tell you today is that footprint just got a little bit too big too fast, and all of a sudden it's unsustainable. But they had Aubrey Moore, Robert Earl Keen.
Yes.
I mean, they if they'd stayed in their lane there, he'd tell you they'd probably still be around.
Well, look at what, and maybe it's because it's the creators, but I look at the Austin film scene, and it's the creators that brought things back to the, Robert Rodriguez and stuff, and which brings his friends here, and they're filming movies here in this town, and there's now a world where you can create films in Austin, and it feels like when somebody makes it big, quote unquote, or whatever, they just leave the town and they go immediately where the label tells them to go, which is Nashville, New York, or LA. And I understand that from that, but nobody fights to come back to here except for some of the older guys. And I feel like if we had some sort of way to bring them, like, no, they can still create everything they want to create here and have, as you said, everything from publishing to, have some sort of label showcase here, where labels are actually have offices here. It's the same with gear. I look at, we had a period of time where Fender had a rep here, and Gibson still does have a rep, obviously. But I know that the rehearsal place up at the old airport, Soundcheck, I know that they have Orange amplifiers there and PV there, and they have all this under one little moniker, but there's not the reps going out and seeing bands play and finding the people that need some help, or the bands that are like, oh wow, this is an Austin band that's actually out touring some. Let's see what we can help them with. Maybe
they only come here during South by and ACL Fest to see the major acts. They don't come here for other things.
Well, it's like, it's what I love, I'm glad Gibson is here, because when I need an SG for the studio, or I need, something like that, or a Hummingbird acoustic, I can call them up, borrow one and do that. But what happens when I would love a Fender 6-string, or, I need a specific telly? I've got nobody to call for that, and we're making records all the time, and it's like there's a lot of cool things happening around here, and there's none of that love. And I understand all those businesses are hurting. Everybody kind of is in the music community, but it's like if we're the live music capital of the world,
music festival capital.
Well, yeah, those people should be here.
I agree.
Yeah, it would be really convenient.
I agree. But we're working on that pretty hard.
Yeah.
I mean, especially on the, we sort of put our stake in the ground and said, look, if we can start somewhere and we can start working on performance rights organizations to come have a bigger presence, we'll try and start there. It's tough. That
getting people to relocate here or start is tough. It's not like the film industry where it gets too expensive in Hollywood, so other states, we'll pay you money and give you tax breaks to come film here.
Yeah.
Like
Right.
they do in Georgia and other states and Vancouver or whatever other countries.
No,
you
you're
can't
right.
do that. Hey, Capitol Records, you want to come over here? Yeah,
Well, no,
we'll give you yeah.
You can do that in other industries. If the Texas Enterprise Fund, for example, is set up in economic development to entice companies to move in from around the country and around the world. And they've got a closing fund that makes it easier, relocation fund, et cetera, for their employees, tax breaks, et cetera. But their thresholds are so high, you have to create, 1,500 jobs and, expect $25 million in tax boon to the state. I mean, those numbers are so high. You're talking about companies like Toyota and Boeing and this is not set up. That's not how the music industry works.
Yeah, that's the problem. You can't just do
So
that.
I can't go write them a check to come here. A private citizen could,
Yeah.
but I can't from the state level go do that. But it's tough. It's a tough conversation to have.
It would be nice to have some proper labels and publishing and all that here, like an industry here, like
Yeah.
a row, if you want to go that far. Hey, there's plenty of land out here. I've seen it.
That there is.
Yeah. I mean, that leads to another thing is why are these music venues closing? There's been a lot closing in the last couple of years. I mean, I know why. I've said it on earlier podcasts why they're closing, but I'm questioning if they're actually music venues, and that's why they're closing.
Well, here's the thing. You've touched on it a couple times in the podcast, and you're right about some of the things you're talking about. But not all the closures are due to substandard operation. Some of them are
I
due.
blame the wobble and Copperhead Road.
Yes.
They might have kept some of those places in business. You never know. What I think's happening, and I'm pretty sure I'm right, is that a lot of these venues historically are in very desirable parts of the town now.
Yes.
You look at Austin or you look at Dallas or Houston, San Antonio too. These venues are in very desirable locations for hotels and condos. And the thing is, developers come in and say, well, this is prime location for hotel, and my residents can go down and see live music by stepping out their front door. That's a great idea. The problem is when you put a nice hotel next to all those things, those property values go through the roof. And not all the people in those hotels want to hear live music at 2 in the morning while they're trying to sleep. Okay, you got a problem there. The problem on the venue side is that when their taxes go up, taxes hurt. Fine. But when their rents go up, that's their bottom line out the window.
Yep.
And so venues who don't own the land that they sit on don't have a winning proposition in the first place. So I'm really keen on trying to figure out how to get these venues into investment type relationships with private money so they can buy the land they sit on. I don't think any venue or any real business that doesn't own the land they sit on has a shot, and you know what, staying open long term.
Nope, you're right.
Especially in cities that are growing. There's no way I would personally write a business plan, or you guys would, where you left a line item of that much importance and that much influence on your bottom line blank. And
Yeah.
you just said, okay, I'm just going to take my chance. I kind of equate it to renting a house. So you rent a house and you tie up your net worth in renovating that house that someone else owns. And then they come in and say, well, thanks. That's fantastic. You've done such great work. But now the rent's going to be double. Well, all your net worth goes out the window because you just got to move. You don't
Yep.
own the place. Why would you renovate it?
Exactly.
Well, music venues have to renovate it because to remain cutting-edge music venues, they need better lights, better sound, better bar, better experience for their patrons. So they're forced to dump a bunch of their own money in, but they don't own the land. So if venues don't own the land, they're in trouble, first of all. So
How cool is it going to be in that hotel downtown when you go outside and there's nothing there?
well, that's what's going to happen.
Has anyone been to downtown Lubbock? There's nothing there.
Well, was there?
No, but I'm saying that's that's the thing. That's all the cities have the same thing where it's downtown is really cool. Everything's down there. You got the bars, the restaurants, there's the shops, there's all this cool stuff to do. Usually mass transportation in other cities. We're not even going to get into that.
Yeah.
And then they start putting the hotels in, and then the condos come in, and then the work and live places come in at the bottom of the condos. And then the people complain.
Well, the agents of change principle is one that's really hard to tackle. So these folks want to be in the hottest pockets of town. The hippest places want to be in the hottest pockets of town. So you look at a hotel in Austin like Van Zant, who built themselves into the anchored part of the Rainey Street district. Now, Van Zant's lucky, and Rainey Street's lucky because they've got a guy at Van Zant, Greg Clay, who opened Van Zant, who understands these problems.
That's a Kimpton hotel.
That's right. But
dog friendly.
Yeah, but Van Zant is run by Greg Clay, who is also a board member on Urban Land Institute. So he puts together these groups that bring in stakeholders from around the industry to talk about how best to fix the agents of change problem and to get real with developers about what it means to build next to these cool venues. You did it for this reason, now deal with the consequences, and here's how. So he was instrumental, partially behind getting that 6-month pilot program for the venues on Red River so they could extend their hours by 2 hours and make some more money, right? They have to get through that stuff. You know, developers who build right next to Stubbs, who build right next to the Red River District have to deal with that.
The people have to know when they're getting a room or moving there that this is, how clueless are they? Like, who was actually complaining? I'm questioning how many people are actually complaining versus the people who aren't complaining, because it's common sense. If you want to live where all the action is, there's going to be noise. Has anyone been to New York City?
Yeah, exactly.
So I've heard this Agents of Change before. I thought it was the new Marvel show on TV, but it's like,
I'd watch it.
Yeah, it sounds cool. Agents of Change. That's what we need right now.
That's right. Back the other way.
Yeah. So how is that going to? So how does that work? Is this like a grandfather clause? Okay. So any new thing that comes in can't complain.
Well, you know,
no. If a new venue opens up, they're subject to a noise thing.
Okay, so that's White Oak Music Hall in Houston. So White Oak moved into that neighborhood. They went around to the entire neighborhood and said, "We're opening a venue."
Hey, you guys cool?
Yeah, and essentially everyone did. Everyone said, "Great, this will be boon for our neighborhood or whatever." What White Oak apparently didn't do, and I don't know all the facts, but apparently they didn't let folks know they were going to construct this big outdoor portion of the venue that really does sort of disrupt late night what's going on. And the attorneys who were bringing suit against them have kids who are trying to sleep, and now you've got this problem. So White Oak in this case is the agent of change. Stubbs in this other case is not the agent of change. They're just having to gut it out.
Somebody's paying off somebody.
Well,
I can't believe the people moving there would complain. Like, it's just ignorant to me.
Well, some people that complain in Austin aren't anywhere near it. They're just, in theory, opposed to loud noise. The heads of neighborhood associations who aren't really next to the problem anyway. These are the same folks. I don't want to get off on a tangent, but these are the same folks who don't use rideshare.
We love tangents on this podcast.
Well, yes, good. I can tell. So these are the same folks who don't ever use rideshare who say people should just be more responsible, right? So we're going to get rid of rideshare in Austin because we don't like their security procedures, but people should just, in general, be more responsible, and you shouldn't have more than a drink anyway.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Don't get overserved at the bar.
Right, and you won't need rideshare anyway, so what's the problem? I mean, it's a illogical argument.
Well, that's one thing. There's a lot of this is a very informative podcast. I'm just sitting here being quiet because I'm learning.
Well, I don't want to screw up your vibe.
This is great.
This is fantastic.
Because I'll just like throw out little things every now and then, like where are all the female acts on these festivals? Who are doing all these? See, I'm gonna say that for another one, but just keep that in mind. Where are the female acts? I'm just letting people.
We'll get into that.
Let's think on that for a little bit, and let's move on to some other stuff that I had. Okay,
my silence is in no way indicative of a position on that issue.
Yes.
Okay, here. All right. So I came up with my own crazy, wacky things that would help musicians in Austin to try to make their lives better.
Cool.
So I'll just throw one out there, and you like deal with it, shoot it down. Like pretend I'm on a board. I'm on like the Texas music board.
Dope.
For the state.
Awesome.
Wrong.
Ain't gonna happen.
All right. So what I would like to see is, okay, we have some musician loading zones. Mm-hmm. I've seen those. Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
you open up the driver's side door and hope nobody.
Yeah, you
runs
put
it
your
over.
hazards on and just block the lane in 5 o'clock traffic downtown and hope a cop doesn't give you a $500 ticket. No, I would like to see a temporary loading sticker that the bars give. Like, look, you can't come in here like the P-Funk All-Stars with like 20 people in your band and get 20 car parking passes. No, one or two, break it down depending on how big the when I say big, how popular the band is. And you get one or two, like, I want to say a 6 hour pass, a sticker. Like the little stickers you get out of the machines? Okay. You're playing downtown. What's the place I'm allergic to? Cedar
Door?
Cedar Door. Not because of the cedar, just because the cover bands play there and they play sets.
Cedar Street.
Yeah, I don't like sets.
Cedar Street.
So a band needs to like play there, right? Some cover band playing sets. Oh my God. The venue should give them like one or two. I'm just throwing this out as an idea, like a 6 hour. I'm trying to think of a unit of time that would get you from loading the sound check to unloading and getting out of there. Because here's the deal: you show up, you got to get a spot, right?
Yep.
You got to unload all your stuff, and then you got to move your car, and then you got to come back, and then you got to do the sound check, and then after that you got to go. Well, am I just going to keep my car there forever, or am I going to go home because we're not playing for like 4 or 5 hours? What do I do? And then you got to come back and get another parking spot. I don't know how they do it. And then for loading, you got to go get it and bring it back, and it's a hassle. Like you're trying to load out at like 2 or 3. With how it is downtown with the streets blocked off. It's a nightmare.
Yeah, it's a mess.
Right. So my solution would be like I think 6 hours may be enough. Like if a venue would give like 2 stickers to 2 cars. Hey, dude, I know you got 4 guys in your band. Y'all got a carpool or something. We're not going to give you 4 spaces for 6 hours each. So you get like 1 or 2 stickers and put them on your car, and you can park right there, load in, and leave your car parked there till the gig's over, and you're cool.
Yeah, it's got a time limit on it.
A time limit with a date, they look just like all the other ones. So when the meter person comes by, they know that that's a musician's car. Let the guy park.
Yeah.
Musicians shouldn't have to pay for parking. That shouldn't be part of your gig when you're playing for tips or something like that. Or if you're an acoustic guy, you let the dude park. So that's one solution I would have. Some kind of musician temporary stickers that the venue gives out, right?
Sure.
All right.
I'm in.
Some people have talked about. I've only heard this in Austin, by the way. I haven't heard this in other places yet. But some people have talked about doing a free ride share during a certain time period for artists from their house to the gig. Then the ride share would go away.
A van, like the van.
Like
comes,
a van, so you can load your drums up and your amps. They'd take you down there, dump you. You'd go do all your stuff. When you're ready, you'd ping them. They'd come pick you up and take you back. Of course, it's a time limit, so you can't go just leave your stuff in the club, get hammered, and do the stuff musicians do. Like, this is a business deal. You get picked up, you go do sound check, they leave, they come pick you up.
Yeah, that's great, because what musician that was playing in town, these in-town guys, aren't going to drink at their show?
Right. I mean, it eliminates a safety issue, it eliminates a liability issue, and then plus it gets you where you need to go without parking and getting your door ready.
Yeah, I've thought of that too, and a guy shot me down in a bar the other day.
Well, the question gets to the point pretty quick. Who's paying for that? Okay, is city going to cut you slack there? I don't know.
Or does the guy just have to write it off on his taxes, quote unquote, that they're going to account for a cash business? No.
Yeah, I mean that could go to a writer's maybe their rating or something like that. If the writer is willing to do if the driver is willing to do 5 trips a week. Does he or she, like, just using an app like Ride Austin, which is an Austin-based app, do they get, a better rate from Ride Austin? Maybe they don't give 80%.
It's sound check Austin. Then come up in that little Sprinter van and load all your gear. You meet at sound check. You put all your gear in the truck, and that dude drives
and just
you
distributes
down.
people around.
Yeah,
maybe, man. I don't know. That's a good idea.
You get a bunch of little mini Sprinter vans.
But here's the thing:
It's like you drive to sound check, park your car, you load it in the deal, and that thing takes you to the gig.
Yeah, you have to actually be going to work. You have to actually be a working musician to take advantage of something like that.
Yeah, you have to have gigs on the book.
Yeah,
people have to know your schedule.
Right.
Yeah. So we're working on options. That's the good news.
Yeah.
Now, does that? Here's another question there. Now, if you're a band that plays around Austin all the time, and where does it come into, like, okay, 1-to-1 has a backline drum, bass rig. You know, sometimes if Red Young is playing a bunch, you know, the B3 will be up there and he'll let people use it. Can we get back into the mentality maybe of having that and bands using the backline stuff rather than having 3 bands with 3 drum kits playing the one night? You know, that's half the issues right there.
So you want more venues to have more backline gear in addition to the lights and the PA that they have?
Well, I think if you're a really small club that's having 3 or 4 bands come in, like, I feel like
it's a nightmare.
You know, because it's
that's
like
episode 1 right there.
Yeah, you have the stacks
Get off the stage.
You have the stacks of drum boxes, you know, and all this sort of stuff while the next
Saxon
band is
has
going through.
the backline, don't they?
They have a backline bass rig.
That's right.
Yeah, which I use all the time because I'm just like, hey, he's happier when I play that rather than bring my 810 cab
Opening
in.
musicians, they don't want to take gear anywhere.
You know, well, and
have it stolen while you're drinking beer, waiting to get paid while your gear's in the car, in a legal spot with the hazards on.
and it goes right there. I mean, you have a town with no parking, no loading zones, and stuff like that. I mean,
I have seen musician loading signs. I don't know if they're still there, but I have seen some.
Well, there is one on the side of the Saxon that says musician loading and unloading.
They put that up there themselves.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not like a city thing.
That's correct.
Yeah.
In fact, the city wants to they want to extend the parking meters during in the early part of the week. You know, when they like Wednesday, you can go out Wednesday and not have to pay. They want to do more of that.
Well, they can make money.
Well, and they should. Yeah, they make money that way.
Yeah. We're getting way off topic here as usual. When does Austin become? You have to have a sticker. You have to pay to get into city limits, unless you live here, like they do in London and other major cities, where you have to pay to get into city limits if you drive.
Yeah,
because there's too many cars.
Yeah, if you're driving a car, you have to.
Yeah, you got to pay a fee to get in the city limit. I'm down for that because I already live in the city limit. So
what do they?
You're screwed, Adam.
Is that I'm a Wimberley resident. Well, then you got to pay to come into Wimberley. Bam.
Wimberley Records. Start it, dude. Start a publishing company here.
Rising High Records.
Producers are doing it anyway. You're writing all the guys' songs. You're fixing the stuff. Anyway, you might as well just start it. I don't know.
Maybe it's time.
All right, here's some more crazy stuff I got. Should venues pay less for bands now? No, hold on. I know it sounds like I'm going against my own interests. I'm trying to make the music artists and the quality of the bands better and make the venues more of a venue, a real venue instead of a fake venue. If the venues stop, you know, because some of these Texas country line dancing, whatever, wobble places, they're throwing money out. And these bands are taking that money because it's just free money. Remember that dude?
Yeah.
From the 88. So they're playing these places and they're giving them money, but no one cares who's on stage. Like no one shows up. All they want to do is hear the, you know, like you said, they want to hear the hip hop from the 90s and 2000s, right?
Yep.
So they're all on their phones. So it's not doing anything for the band. But if a real venue starts paying bands less, lower the guarantee versus the door. So you're getting people to pay more cash coming through the door. You're going to start to see who actually has a fan base, where the talent actually is. People going to the venue and treating it as a venue. To see a venue is, like we said, let me recap here, season 2, in case you missed season 1. It's when you go to see a band and, oh, by the way, they have alcohol. Not the other way around, where you go to get drunk, oh, by the way, there's a band. And that's what we have a lot of, and those are the ones that are throwing money out. And then bands go, and then the guarantee gets lower and lower, and your fan base, you're not building the fan base. Okay, y'all are with me. We're there, right? We're already there. So if it's a lower guarantee versus the door, let the best rise. The best will still make money. You will develop a better. That's my thinking on this. Am I wrong? Am I going against my own interests here? Are we weeding out the people who just want to play?
I'm all about the venue making money. I'm all about the band being better. I think since I started going to see live music, I know what I'm getting into when I go to one venue over another, though. I know when I go see somebody at, one theater, I'm going to get people there for music who are drinking, and then I know if I go to another venue, I'm going to go see people who are drinking and there's music playing. I mean, there's just different venues or different places.
But those are the ones that are going out of business. I know it has to do with what you were saying earlier, but and what's weird is a lot of those country fake venues, that's not a problem for them because they're usually outside the city limits. They're usually like far away because of the rent, you know?
Sure.
All the band guys complain like, oh, we're playing this city. Oh, wait, we're not near anything.
I feel part of it is just the venue's responsibility to pay attention to who they're buying.
Well, yeah. Well, when you have a fraudulent radio chart, it doesn't mean anything. That's never conclusively proven that it's helped any band build a fan base.
What?
And when the owner does negligent researching on the band of their true value, and then that's what happens. This band was number one.
Well, and it happened to a friend of mine recently, and I will not name any names in this.
Man,
but
season 3 we're naming names.
I know. We'll get there.
We'll do another freebie this season. But dude, really?
That's
band, bad truth.
I know. The band got called. The singer got called and said, "Hey, I know you're playing here in a week, but we have to bring down your guarantee because the last 2 bands that were charting Texas country bands came in here and they couldn't even hit the really already low guarantee at the door."
I'm a little upset you didn't do fake air quotation marks when you said.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Which chart are you talking about when you talk about that right now? Traction?
It's the one
that's the one that they had, that the company had used. They had gotten bands off Traction, and
so that's a relatively new one that Jesse Scott and her group put together.
That's the
right.
new one, yeah.
Right.
Which seems, I mean, looking at the charts, it's like at least that is actual spins that are tracked.
Digital track, yeah, digital.
They're actually tracking what is actually. It's not.
You've got to be a station that keeps a real time stream up for 90+% of the time that you're tracked, like etc.
It's not the actual like, hey, I spun it 40 times. Boom.
Not the paper spins. No, exactly right. I mean, in that way, I think that chart's done a better job recently of actually accurately portraying what's played in different markets. Now, the jury's out as to whether, and sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's pretty definitive as to whether or not that matters.
It doesn't matter in the, okay.
Do we, real quick, do we remember, and I don't know if you guys remember this, do we remember the Midnight Rodeo in Austin Lone Star debacle? When Lone Star had the number 1 country song and was just...
That's Brendon's favorite band.
It just had a...
That's better when they were Blackhawk. Sorry.
They just were on TV, like Good Morning America or something, and they showed up to Midnight Rodeo in Austin, and they had like 75 people at their show.
Sure.
Man. Should have more stars. Oh. Have more stars in the name.
That's right.
Why would you go see a band with a 1-star rating?
With a Lone Star.
Yeah, it was like 5-star. Like, dude, 5 stars playing.
Well, let's talk about that for a second. So, I mean, there has to be better market research on who's actually drawing a crowd. And I think that savvy operators who are venue owners tend to talk to one another a little bit more. I mean, that's a question of real interconnectivity. Like, okay, if you're so competitive as a venue owner that you're not going to talk to anybody else about what's actually going on, and you don't pick the phone up and call Henry Glasscock at WME or Jeff Gregg at CAA or Mark, you don't actually pick the phone up and go, look, shoot me straight, man. We can talk about your guarantee, but show
me the numbers.
What did he do in Dallas?
No Polestar. Should there be a Techstar?
Yeah, maybe. I'm like, you want me to be around?
You heard it here first. That's the second one.
You want to keep calling me to book your bands here, right? Like, you want me to be around in a year. So you tell me exactly what they're going to bring through that door.
Yeah, the venue should do a better job of not only promoting the bands on their side, but also do the due diligence on the research of the true value of these bands that they're bringing in there, and not just basing it off a chart that's, in my opinion, has not done anything for any band other than have them say, hey, I got a number 1 song.
I think it's good that we have a place that people can go, fans can go, or venue owners can go and go, okay, here's who's released something. Here's somebody who's just got new material out. Here's who's making the rounds. I get that. That's cool. But why do we naturally assume that that's going to tie to some sort of guarantee?
Yeah.
That doesn't make sense
Just
to me.
because a band's selling out at the Blue Light in Lubbock doesn't mean they're gonna pack studs inside.
But I would
Exactly.
I would take that metric. I'd take he sold out Blue Light as a better metric than he had 500 spins on the Wolf or something. Like it doesn't. The two are different stats to me. Like if the kid did, whomever it is, did 200 people at the Blue Light. Okay, that means the people at that show are going to be on social media talking about how cool it was. We went to see it. You can't miss it. Best night of my life. So, a third of those kids are going to get word of mouth to College Station or Waco or Dallas or wherever else. At least they're out there playing and doing okay. And if the venue owner in College Station decided to call the Blue Light, call Dustin and go, is this guy worth it? Whatever. They'd say, yeah, maybe in a couple years. Like put him on as an opener. He can draw 50 folks. But that's the information they really need.
So you don't think venues should start paying less and like as far as do more door?
I just think they ought to be smarter about how to write money. Look, if they really are making life and death decisions every day about how they pay artists, then they ought to be really smart about that, right? I mean,
dude, have you seen the venues around the state?
I've seen some that are great, and I've seen some that aren't and don't last that long. Sure, but was ever thus. I mean, I don't have any problem with a systemic failure.
Some of these bands are. I'm sorry. Some of these fake venues are hanging on. They can't invest anything back into their venue. The venue looks exactly the same as it did when it opened.
Can't or don't.
Yeah, or don't. Yeah,
or won't. But we could go through and find all the good actors too.
There are a lot of good venues. It's just. Sometimes the kids I don't want to go to those.
Well, but what's funny is that think of like the immediate one I think of is Floors. Yeah. Like how much they've built that up and grown that.
They've reinvested a lot into that.
Of course,
and it's such a blast to see a show, and it's such a blast to play a show there.
Even the inside has been improvements.
Look, I mean, that's a good experience, right? Driving out to the hill country and seeing a great show at Floors. That's something everybody ought to do. 100%.
And parking.
But you know what? I mean, they fixed parking.
Yeah.
They fixed the inside of that place up. They've got a great new sound system. But you know what they'll do? Mark and Joel will call people. They will call agents and say, what are we doing here? How's this going to work? How are you routing these guys? Tell me what I need to know. They're smart. So, there's no arguing that. Will Coriath at Whitewater, okay? People kind of told him he was nuts for wanting to build a venue down there on that horseshoe next to the tube spot. They said that's all it's ever going to be. Well, Will's smart, right? Will started making relationships in the industry, started calling agents, saying, look, I know I'm new. If you shoot me straight, we'll have a good business relationship. Let's make it win-win. You tell me what's on the horizon. I'll take your word for it. Let's go. He's smart. They're smart.
Yeah.
Smart venue owners are going to out, They're going to reinvest in their place. They're going to give their customers a pretty darn decent or great experience, and they're going to continon. I mean,
I saw a Toady show out there once.
It's a fantastic venue, and so is Floors.
Of course, I played it several times, but on that side of actually going to finding the parking spot, going and seeing the band, the sound, getting around, it was good.
It's good, right?
It's good, yeah. It's a good one.
You can contrast with a ton of others. I get that, sure.
Okay, here's another crazy thing. I'm going to keep going here. Should studios start to charge more? All right.
Well, from that standpoint,
I know it sounds weird. I'm saying like, should venues start pay less to start weeding out the
so the bottom line here is talent, right? Is that what you're talking about?
I'm trying to find a way for the talent to get away from the noise. Yeah. And there's a lot of noise clouding the true talent around here. And these guys, there's a lot of talent in this state. But they're surrounded by everything, branding, using the same brand, if you will, and we all know Lee's are not Lee jeans are not Levi's. Yeah. Yes. But they're both jeans, right?
But they're both jeans.
That's what I'm talking about right here.
I get it.
So why would you want studios to start charging more? Here's the deal, because there are a lot of home studios, and this is the quality issue. Like, okay, look, if you have a legitimate studio, it's going to sound better than a house studio, no matter what, because you're going to have the better gear, you have the money. The studio's built to be, the property's built to be a studio. It's not a house, right? Mm-hmm. So there's a quality difference right off the bat. And so for bands and artists to compete on the radio, if we're still doing that, as far as the sonic quality goes, by actually having a real producer, a real engineer, real gear, and studio musicians. You know, if there should be a huge, what's the word? Oral? Is that the word?
AU.
Yes.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, difference in the sound, right?
Yeah.
Are you going to tell me some guys how a home studio is going to, if he does a record there, it's going to sound better than the Yellow Dog Studios? I'm putting you on the spot there.
Here's my 2 cents on that. So, charging more, which obviously I know we do. We charge more than a lot of places. And when I first came down here in 99 and started at Cedar Creek, there was an untold...
I'm thinking of a classical piece to play right now. Keep going.
Yeah. An unspoken, this is the price. Like every studio, Bismo, Cedar Creek.
Y'all touched on this a couple casts ago, yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Everybody had the unspoken, this is how much we're going to charge. You make your deals with every artist that you want to, but nothing's going to be advertised less than this because this is how we are. Then we had companies come in and start dropping prices. Well, now we've got the home studio market. Now, there's another side. Back then, independents still sold 50, 75,000 copies. Nobody's selling records anymore, so investing-wise, people are like, why am I going to invest $100,000 into a record that's never going to see that come back? Now, as a band, you have to tour. And how do you tour? You have some sort of advertising to tour. What is that advertisement? It's your record.
It's T-shirts now.
I've got new music, and then here's my advertisement: is this record? You're going to stream it. You might buy it at a show.
Yeah,
you know
that's
that
a cool
sort of
sticker
thing.
on that toilet that I'm pissing on. I should check that band out.
Yeah. So, but it drives me up a wall. But at the same time, I also feel validated when I get well, you guys are just too expensive. I'm going to go to so-and-so. And then I get the call back. Or the next record, the band comes back and say, hey, we got a little more budget. We're going to do this. And then they're like, oh, this is how a recording session is supposed to go. This is what a studio experience is like. I mean, even to the set of, and the thing that has been getting me lately is producers. Like I sit down and, oh, we're rearranging songs and we're coming up with different parts and doing this sort of stuff. Oh, we're going to add a bridge here. And I get, oh, well, the last guy that produced our record, he just hit record and just did this. And we paid him to produce and maybe told us to tune up every once in a while. But
there's a lot of money grabs.
Why are you so hands-on? And that's what it is. There's a lot of money grabs.
I've heard a lot of songs and records, and I can't even get through them. And I feel bad for the people that are trying to get deals. And some of them are actual studios, and they're still doing the money grabs, just going through the motions. You can tell. And I feel bad because these kids, they can't tell yet because they're still on their first or second record.
They don't
know. And you're going like, and they're like so happy about it. And I'm just like, dude, this quality is not, it's poor.
Well,
if the quality is poor.
If there's one thing that, I learned many things, but if there's one thing I'm thankful for is when I learned from Lloyd, I learned that the people should come out of the session a better musician, a better songwriter, and that's what's not happening. You know, people just get in there, grab the money, make the record, put it out, and then plaster it online how they, they produce this top 10 single on the Texas music chart. Whereas, I could care less if of course, I guess I want it to chart because I want its success and I want the band to have success. But I love it when the band leaves and they're like, man, we didn't know this. And now we have a better understanding of how to arrange our songs or a better understanding. Or you taught me this new guitar player style that now I'm learning because I want to have that style in my rapport.
Man, it's okay. So the reason why I was saying this, because I actually did research. I start off each season doing a lot of research, and I just slack off. But this one, I called 3 radio stations, two country, and 1 rock. You heard it here. And I asked them this question. I was like, do radio stations have a baseline quality of stuff that they can actually air on their radio station? Or have there ever been a time where no matter who the artist was or how great the song was, you couldn't play it because the quality of the recording was suboptimal and they just couldn't play it? It's like you can't look. I'm sorry, but your Texas Red Dirt song that you recorded in somebody's home with a buddy with the band that's never recorded before and it doesn't sound good. They can't play that and then go play someone like Kenny Chesney afterwards. It just you can't do it. I don't know how many watts these stations have, but they're not going to play your song. It just doesn't sound good at all. And they all said yes, they do have a quality, and they have refused to play artists or an indie band songs or record because the quality was poor. They couldn't play it. Ouch.
It's not surprising.
Yeah.
Part of
And
the whole.
this is still happening, guys. People are still putting out poor sounding material.
To answer your question, Michael, like the original question here was, should studios charge more? Okay.
There should be a difference.
So the studios ought to charge the rate that they feel is going to make their bottom line move into the black, right?
Yeah.
I mean, they ought to set their business model up and just operate that way. But, you touched on something, Adam, a second ago that's true from my perspective. Now, my perspective is different than other people's perspective because I came up as a teenager playing with Lloyd and you guys in the studio there. And you
got me Taco Bell once.
I did. That wasn't at a studio gig, though.
Oh, no. Oh, sorry.
That was at the Fidel House at College Station.
Oh, boy.
We'll get into that in a second. But I went into every studio session with Lloyd learning more and knowing more than I came. Now, a lot of that was a product of my knowing nothing when I went in.
Brendon?
No, Brendon.
Did you bring a tuner? So, that's one very special recording experience I had is working with him for many years, right? He's atypical. A lot of great producers will expect an artist to come in fully formed, assist them in creating their vision, the artist's vision for their record. Lloyd's different because Lloyd says, look, you might not be fully formed. I'll help you optimize this, right? Optimization is different than realization. And they might intersect occasionally, but, Lloyd, I don't think many artists would say, I don't think just about any artist would ever say they left a studio session with Lloyd and with a record in their hand that they weren't proud of.
Yeah.
Because it was better than they were when they left. If you go in and you're a studio and you can't say for certain that you're going to give someone something that's worth it when they leave, maybe you ought to, you're doing something that maybe is not the best.
Is there a list in your office of the Texas studios, like actual professional recording studios?
I'm glad you asked that,
as a reference where and also a producer and engineer reference where people might come here from another state and want to record and it's like, hey, what do you got here? What do you got for me?
100%. So actually, I'm glad you asked that because our Resource Wednesday posts go out every week, and the one from last week. Indeed, you do. So the Resource Wednesday post from last week, from yesterday, was the list of recording studios that are registered with us around the state.
You heard it here first.
Are we registered?
You ought to be.
I got to see that.
You ought to be.
You have Grammys, dude. Why aren't you registered?
Who knows?
You have to register yourself, by the way, and a lot of people do. Some folks intentionally don't because they like working, below the radar. That's fine, but this information's power again, and people from out of the state use those things all the time, and they're producers and engineers listed, and they're all kept up to date the best we can. We operate a database with nearly 20,000 listings, and the accuracy is in the 90s again now. It had dropped down quite a bit, but we're back up into the high 90s. And so that means you go on and you want to find a studio just about anywhere in the state, from El Paso to Beaumont, from McAllen to Dallas, or even north of that.
You want to know what bands or artists have recorded and what studio. Getting back, because there's no album credits anymore.
Yeah,
right. It'd be nice if someone could see a current thing, because it's not just Texas country. This is about small compared to all the big stuff that's happening in this state, and it'd be cool to know what these big bands coming here and recording, doing records. That would be very useful for people to see.
Yeah.
Well, it helps to tell a picture of how impactful the music industry is.
One of my favorite bands, the new Master Sounds, they recorded that is that El Paso studio,
Sonic Ranch.
Yeah, they recorded out there, and I was like, whoa.
That place is incredible.
They're from Leeds, dude. Leeds.
Well, yeah, but that place, Tony Ranch's place, is
let's talk about that place.
It's incredible. I was out there about a month ago. I went and spoke at UTEP to their music business school, and Tony came and picked me up after dinner. We went out to Sonic Ranch for several hours, and he walked me through every nook and cranny of that place. It is unbelievable. I mean, it is really state of the art. And
Your stuff's getting on the radio if it's good.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Well,
which is the way it should be.
But these are folks like the Yeah Yeah Yeahs, and I mean, these are international folks that come play through there, as well as guys from Texas like Dirty River Boys who go out there and record too, because they're from El Paso. I mean, that place is cool. Is cool.
Yeah.
I want to say one last thing about the radio stations.
Go
In
for it.
an unrelated tidbit, I've been informed that you don't have to send CD singles to radio stations anymore, guys. Just send them the digital. They want the digital. They're not playing CDs, so save your money. Do not send them a burn CD of your record to listen to with no artwork.
Mixtape.
Because that doesn't look good either. If you're going to send an actual CD of your whole record, have the artwork on it, and don't have like your girlfriend take the pictures unless she's a professional.
Yes.
You know.
This is 101 stuff, right? I mean,
Well, dude, this is
I
still
know,
happening.
I know.
It's still happening. This was last week when I did this. I took time out of my day.
you would be amazed at the number of people who still call the office and ask what Sound Exchange is. We're glad.
Please hold.
We're glad to tell them, but that's one thing we do. I mean, just 101 stuff.
Yeah.
Also, okay, I can't. You know, you might have to change my voice for this part.
So I also have been informed, you know what, if you're an indie band, a Texas guy coming up, don't spend money on a radio promotion person that's going to send one email every Wednesday out with all her other clients to play your song.
You know, go to them yourself. That's what I heard. Just go. You don't need a radio promotion on your first record, your first indie record. You don't need to spend that money. I'm sorry, radio promotion guys, but it's over for you guys. Like, quit stealing money from these innocent kids that didn't go to music business school. Drive to the stations yourself. Just show up and tell them who you are. Meet them in person. Play your song. Get to know them, and hand them a quality recording with quality artwork on it. Do not give them a burned CD, and do not send them a CD single.
I will tell
Don't
you.
save your money, guys.
This is a tough one right here.
Save your money, guys.
I will tell you.
We're talking entry level here.
There is a part of the reason why some bands have sub quality records is because they're like, well, I got to spend $12,000 on 3 radio singles to radio promoters.
It's like 4,000 or 5,000 for the life of a single or something.
So I can't
Oh my
afford to
God.
make.
Why am I
the
not
record.
doing that?
Why are you not? You just told people not to do it.
Hey
Go do
guys,
it.
if you want me to promote your single, I already talked to 3 stations already. That could be you. I could have already plugged your song.
It's
I
like
don't know.
it's this weird thing of like, and I've watched it happen. I've watched it like, well, we can't afford to pay for a good studio to make this record because we have to pay for the radio promotion. So we're going to put out a subpar record and then pay a radio promoter to push the subpar thing, and then still wonder why it didn't get in the top 10.
If you don't think, as an artist, if you don't sit down and think really hard about how you're gonna penetrate a market, how you're gonna start,
Hey-ho.
how you're gonna start making waves, and you really honestly sit down and have that conversation with yourself, and you come to the realization that the only way you're going to do it is to hire a radio promoter to put you on Texas radio
That plays 1 hour a week.
that reaches not a. I'm sorry. Look, I love what a lot of the radio stations do, and some of them are great.
Yeah.
But I don't see them turning the needle like they used to do. And if you think that you're going to sacrifice a big part of your bottom line to do just that, I don't know what to tell you.
Now, you should invest it in a quality bass player.
Here's
Man, you
In
should
your
go.
band.
if my business was radio promotion,
Think of the hotel upgrades you could get with that money.
if my business was radio promotion, I would honestly start.
I'd be so mad at this podcast right
Well,
now.
I'd hate this podcast for sure, but I would automatically go into how can I get my artist on playlists for streaming things.
If they're not already doing that, I don't know what labels have done that.
Yeah, labels have, but I don't know of any radio promoter that pushes, hey, I can get you on these specific playlists on these podcasts. And I
Or
think
how about
well, maybe-
TV, commercial, film,
Okay, that's sync.
supervisors?
that's a different.
Now, if
that's
they were,
sick.
but if they were someone who was a promotion that also had music supervision.
Well, these are totally different. These are two different.
Supervision?
These are two different
No.
professions.
yeah, it's a totally
It
different.
is two different
and it's
professions,
a two
but-
different money thing.
But they might have contacts. I guess that goes to your admin person.
Yeah, that
That's
goes to your
that's
catalog.
nother,
admin.
that's a whole nother podcast.
Okay, let me back it up to radio promotion real quick. There are good actors and bad actors, nationwide, statewide. We know
Yes.
that. We know that, and most likely we know who they are. Young artists might not. That's a problem. I'll give you that. A radio promoter now should be saying those things you're saying, Adam. Like, okay, let's look at the world we live in. Most of these folks are streaming this stuff and showing up at your shows if they like it, right?
Yes.
That's where you may stand a shot in the dark at making some money on this deal. So a radio promoter who tells you they're going to take X amount of dollars from you and is not going to get you on a playlist that's relevant to your fan base, that their fan base goes to learn about new music in the scene, they're selling you a bill of goods.
Yep.
And if you think you're going to make a whole bunch of money by getting a number one on a Texas chart, you need to re-examine your thinking.
Screw the Texas chart. I'm sorry.
Well, I
It
don't.
should be the Americana chart. Is what they should be.
Well,
like aim higher, people.
No, look, I like the idea of having a chart that tells people what's going on, who's releasing new material. It's a good thing. And I think
Yes.
they're coming from it from the right direction.
I'm
I
a
think,
bit harsh. I admit.
No, it's okay. I think the folks who are doing it, I think they're doing it for the right reasons. And finally, I can look at a chart right now and say, okay, this is grounded in some sort of reality. Because
Well, the rock scene doesn't have that. Where's the Texas radio? Where's the say? Someone spell out for me. Where's the Texas rock chart?
Oh, I don't know. I haven't seen one.
There isn't one. That's what I'm talking about.
I'm
And
aware.
part of that is that there's not. You have every.
like
you
Adam,
know-
your band's screwed, dude. You don't have a community.
Oh,
you
I
don't
know.
have venues that you'll go and play with other rock band. Where's the rock band scene? Where are the other rock bands that you guys know
These
of?
are scene-based
We
things.
have more spins outside of this state than we do. I mean, every once in a while,
Yeah.
a college radio station will spin us in Texas.
It's a
Amarillo
phenomenon,
College
dude.
will be-
It really is. This Texas country scene has its own venues, has its own fan base, has its own radio stations, has its own chart. It's crazy, man.
It's not just Texas, though. I mean, this runs through
I know.
Chicago and Kansas, and
it
all over
expand.
the
It
place.
has
Well-
expanded, but we know where it came from.
and that's the
Hey,
funny.
we all came from Africa, but I ain't African. You know what I'm saying? So that's where this chart came from. So
Let me
yeah.
say something real quick about that, if I can. Like,
Yeah.
look, okay, we got this really big Texas country red dirt scene, right? Now, it varying levels of sophistication and songwriting, whatever. I don't care what the holes you want to punch in it. It is what it is.
Yeah.
And a lot of people go to work in this scene. A lot of people make a lot of money in this scene. A lot of people pay a lot of money to watch this music played in scenes around the country. Now, why don't they have an organization like the Americana Music Association representing them? Where are the adults in the room standing up and going, okay, we're going to take this scene by the horns, and we're going to actually put some shape and some form around it, and start forming meaningful partnerships with the CMA and the AMA and the ACM. Why aren't we doing that?
Yeah, Brendon, why aren't we doing that?
I'm working really
It
hard to
takes
try
a
to get them
village,
to do
Adam.
I know. I know. And that's
I read that somewhere.
it. Yeah.
Remember reading?
Well, that might solve.
What?
Here's my things. That might solve a couple of the things you're talking about. This group could actually come in and go, here's our list of good actors in the radio promo world. Here's our chart we're going to acknowledge as our chart.
Well, and then there's the other side of that is, and you have to deal with Texas music. There's
Well,
more than just
country.
this country Americana.
Yeah, there's a
thing.
lot more.
100%. This
rock and
is
roll,
one
Tejano.
one
Yeah.
slice of the pie.
R&B, hip hop. Don't forget Houston.
This is only one slice of the pie, fellas.
Yeah, and we usually talk about this because where we have the most experience on. But yeah, we do know that. That's why I'm saying, where is the Texas rock chart? That would be incredible. That would be a start to where they will start. Maybe start like the Texas thing did, where 1 hour or 2 hours a week. Like they had the one show on the Lubbock station. They had the one in Dallas.
Gamark's show in Dallas.
Yeah, where you had these guys that were visionaries, and we're like, you know what? I'm going to start talking to these guys and have these guys come on and play some of their stuff like an hour a week, and it had to start from somewhere.
It starts with those stations giving that hour, the rock stations giving an hour a week to local rock, and that sort of stuff.
And start building a community. Then the fans will take over. The hog legs will show up. The blogs. Do people blog anymore?
I think they might.
They Facebook now or whatever. That will happen. It will become a life of its own, and then before you know it, there'll be a really healthy Texas. And then we'll be on here complaining about the crap Texas rock station.
Well, and it's funny because in the world of the rest of the world, the rest of the nation, the rock side of things and the blues side of things has more of a chance to reach out past our borders than the Texas country red dirt thing.
Oh, the blues out of the state is crazy. It's off the
It's amazing, we've got some stations that play us and spin these blues, and they're the ones teaching me about Texas blues bands that I have no idea about. And I'm like, why don't I know about this stuff?
And none of these bands had to light a guitar on fire to do it, to get noticed.
Not touching that one.
Yeah, well, it's hot. It's a hot subject.
It's a hot one.
Yeah.
Hey, but yeah, the blues has always been like, it seems like every 5 to 7 years another blues guy comes out of the
Gary
state.
Clark is just doing great these days. Saw him play with Petty the other night. I mean, yeah, man.
And we talked about bringing back the soul thing, and now there's more soul bands around and stuff.
That's
like that.
great. I'm down for that.
Leon's bringing Sam Cooke to a whole new generation of folks who are new appreciators of that. That's incredible stuff. And I'll say too, on the regional Mexican radio side, on the Tejano side, go to the Tejano Music Awards in San Antonio one year and be prepared to be completely blown away. Yeah. I mean, absolutely.
I'm sure it's top notch.
It is absolutely top notch. It's broadcast by Univision. It's one of the biggest things going in Texas music, and
it's huge.
Tell me, somebody else, go check it out. It's incredible.
And it's not a new thing. I mean, I look at the first ZZ Top album. The first single ZZ Top ever put out was Francine, and they put out a Spanish version of Francine to play on all the border towns.
Smart guys.
And then that way they knew they'd sell out all those clubs down there on the border and stuff like that because, that's where, they grew up listening to the X.
La Via Real.
All right. Where are we at right now?
Don't even worry about it. Let's just keep on going. We can split this up into a 2 or 3 parter. I don't care.
No, let's just make it all one.
Okay. What's a long one?
Okay.
And who cares? We've got good stuff. Keep going. Bring it to us.
I don't want to be.
I got one thing I wanted. This is a question for Brendon. The health benefits of music. Have y'all have anything on that as far as the state? Like, I know they used to do the "Don't Mess with Texas" campaign. That's not health, but that's the health of the plant, the health of the state. But I was like, what's the health benefits of the music in the state?
And I'll bring in my real quick on this. Like my question being, having grown up on the East Coast, going to school until my freshman year of high school in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, I moved to Texas, Groom High School, out by Amarillo, with no arts program except for marching band, and that confused me, having had piano classes in middle school and everything like that, and even when it came to language-based stuff, all I could learn was Spanish here. I couldn't learn French or German or anything, but arts, and it confused me. I was lost, and then I couldn't be on the National Honor Society because I didn't have an arts credit. That was not even, I couldn't take an arts class. So how am I supposed to have an arts credit when I can't even take an arts class? Like, are we pushing anything into education?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like the health benefits of music.
Look, there's no denying that some school districts just absolutely struggle with funding and cannot afford to do well fleshed out arts programs.
Recorders have gone up in price. You wouldn't believe.
I know, it's tough.
How expensive those recorders are now.
I know.
I mean, as a kid who grew up playing violin his whole life, played music in public schools, I was really, really fortunate. I wish every kid could have that opportunity. It's not one that's enjoyed by every kid around the state. This is not a punt, but when I came into the office, I looked around and said, what do I think I can affect change in? In what lanes do I think I can be effective? And I had to pick a couple. Yes. And arts in our schools, gosh, there are some really big organizations that are tackling that and the Texas Commission on the Arts and the NEA, running these programs that help kids, get into more formal education later. That they're working on some really impactful things for kids, and I hope that is extending to the schools a little bit more. We're not able from my office to tackle an issue that big. I personally feel very strongly about it. We run a very small grant operation out of our office called the Texas Music Foundation that puts instruments and lessons in the hands of kids who are from underserved communities, kids who are in foster care that wouldn't have the opportunity, couldn't afford it. And I feel great about that. I wish we could make it a lot bigger. We're accepting donations for it. We sell a license plate to help fill that fund up.
The license plate's cool.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I
thanks.
love the
Thanks.
license plate stuff.
Well, we're working really hard to get that message out because I think in that tiny, small, little way, and it is pinprick small, we can affect some change, positive change for kids who are in school who need instruments, or for band programs who we get calls saying we need a tuba. What do we do? Like, you partner with a 501c3, you call us, we'll hand walk you through the grant process, and if you qualify, it's yours. In that tiny, tiny way, we're trying to help. Wrapping your arms around the much bigger problem about why we don't teach arts in our schools, gosh, man, I wish I could do
That's a
something
big
about
one.
that.
Well, and I feel like that's something that even the these Texas musicians, these bands should also be a part of. A friend of mine sent me stuff of Shane Smith going in to a school and talking to the kids.
Now you're
and
name
stuff
dropping
like that.
now?
Well, now I'm name dropping.
And something positive, yeah.
Yeah, I like positive things. But, he went in and did some school stuff and I thought that was friggin' awesome. And, I went on a rant a couple months ago about the whole Eddie Van Halen thing, and Eddie having 30 guitars to donate to kids. And one organization was like, yeah, but how much money can you give us? And he was like, no, but I want to donate, and the
Could you imagine getting a guitar he owned as a kid?
Yeah, as a kid.
That would change your whole life right
Yeah.
there. Life changing.
Yeah. And it's like he had to look to find an organization that would actually accept his guitars because they all wanted money and wanted him to perform at fundraisers rather than just take an Eddie Van Halen guitar.
And man, you look at a group in Austin, and there are really great examples around the state. There's the Network for Young Artists in San Antonio, which is just out of sight. Great.
We're going to have to get a list and put a huge link, all these links down.
I have a
on the
list
show
for
notes.
you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to do that. At this.
Kids
read
in a new
the show
groove.
notes for this one, guys.
Absolutely. Kids in a New Groove in Austin.
Yeah,
They are
that one.
fantastic. They will take, we've given them guitars because they will put them in a kid's hands, and they'll make sure that for that kid's education and possibly beyond, he can have that same instrument. That's a big deal. And yeah, man, artists can get involved in this. They really can. I mean, there's a guy in Austin named Saul Paul who's, I will never have enough good things to say about that dude.
I will take a guitar that's broken and can't be fixed. Just give it to me.
Yeah.
Someone will want it. Don't burn it. Just give it to me.
Yeah.
I'll take the unusable guitar. There's someone out there that will be happy to have it.
Yep.
Yeah. Really, right? Okay. Sorry.
What are you going to do with a broken guitar, T-Bag?
What am I going to do with it? I'll probably smash it.
There you go.
Burn it.
No.
Jack White it.
They should have just burnt all the other instruments up there. So good. Keep going.
Now.
All right. I'm joking, though. Am I, Adam? No, Adam and I do plan to do.
Yeah.
We plan to do Bad Truth music clinics. Yeah, we want to go to schools and do like a funny, entertaining thing of how to set your gear up on stage, how to get your gear off stage. Some of the hand holding stuff that you just don't learn.
That's good stuff.
Because we still see, that's why I joke about it, because we still see adults in bands that have been playing a long time still don't know this. They've never grasped this concept. And that's just one example. But yeah, we plan to do stuff. So yeah, call me.
Oh, yeah.
Call us, right?
Call us.
Yeah, we're down for that to go and talk to, I guess, the college level,
Hey,
like
look.
commercial music programs and stuff.
Your podcast is hilarious, and I love it, and it's dead on the money a lot of times, and I think people stand to benefit quite a bit from hearing it. What I would say, though, is that if you're looking for a rotten apple, plenty to find, but you can go to the tree, and there are kids all over this state in programs like West Texas A&M University, who just signed a multi-year partnership with Belmont to give them really practical business knowledge and connections. That's incredible.
Nice.
Groups like UTEP, groups like North Texas, groups like Houston Community College, groups like Stan Renard's group at UTSA. I mean, they're actually preparing kids not only to roll their cables correctly and learn how to perform like professionals, but they're
Scott
also
Ferris taught me how to wrap a cable.
Scott Ferris is a great
Scott.
hands-on professor, but they're also teaching kids how to write a business plan, how to, if you have an idea, how to ask people for money to give you some, how to write a real business plan, how to set up a business. There are a million different ways to contribute to the music industry besides playing.
Yes.
And you have to understand that to be a well-rounded industry professional, and a lot of really good things are happening around the state. And you could go talk to those kids about that portion you just mentioned, and then talk
we have
about the 100 other things.
Like we have. There's so many topics that we could do. I guess we could do all ages. It might be tough for Adam because he talks like a sailor.
Yeah, I cuss a lot.
Yeah, but
Shit.
yeah, we actually have talked about that quite a bit.
Gotta hear it
we
sometime.
want to do stuff like that. It'd be funny.
We should.
And a lot of people either don't know how to ask the questions, or they don't know what the question is until they hear it from somebody.
Yeah, well, I've done my own little seminar things.
We've both done seminars.
Yeah, Adam and I have been on
Southlands
commercial
College.
music advisory boards for
Sure.
years, right? So we know how that works. We know the politics and how all that stuff goes. And he will agree with me. The most questions you get is after you're done, is when
Yeah.
they come up to you, because they just don't want to ask questions in front of everybody else. So like as soon as you're done, I just like kind of go off to the side and kind of stand there, and then one by one you start having you have your own meet and greet, and they're able to ask you the questions. So
Saints Analog did one at South Plains College back in December, and we started just talking about touring and all that sort of stuff. But finally somebody raised their hand and just goes, "What's Backline?" And I was like, I never even thought about it, but no one ever, they had no clue when we were talking all this Backline gigs and flight dates and stuff, had no idea what Backline even was. And so it was like, oh yeah, we had to explain what that was.
real talk.
And
with
those
Adam.
are the things that you really, that's what if they're going to be professional musicians and touring and doing all this stuff, that's the simple little things that they don't know about.
I expect if there's any just fans of the scene or just fans of the podcast, that when we go and say certain things that we take for granted, they're like, what are they talking about?
You know, stage left didn't really stage left to those people.
Yeah.
No.
They're like, huh? What? Wait a minute.
If you tell a fan to meet you on stage left, you'll be standing on opposite sides of the stage.
Yeah. All day long.
Hey, Brendon, remember that time I quit? Pat Green, one of the times I quit.
I remember one of the times. I remember
And we were roommates in the hotel,
In
and
Lubbock.
I just
I'm out.
I had a credit card, which y'all didn't have. Y'all didn't even have credit cards.
No, thank God.
And I just literally got my credit card and called Southwest and booked my own flight with the credit card and just left. Didn't tell anybody. Well, you knew, but you didn't tell anybody.
I was terrified. So this is one of my first trips out to Lubbock. It wasn't my first, but it was one of them. And we took an RV out there, and Michael decided that since we hadn't left after the show, that this was crap and we needed to be home and this is not professional. And
I was very professional back then.
This is honestly the first time I'd seen, this is a long time ago, it feels like, but this is the first time I'd seen someone in the middle of the night get a credit card out of their pocket and call an airline and just leave. I'd never seen that before. If you're going to go on a plane trip,
Plan ahead.
You plan ahead, you pack your bags, you tell your family, that was the trip that I'd seen happen in my lifetime. And Michael was like, forget that, I'm out of here. And he pulls the credit card out, walks out and he goes, don't tell anybody. I was like, okay. And I've been in the band for a month, so I just laid there in the hotel room, in fear of what was going to happen.
I was out.
And the next morning, I walked out. They're like, where's Michael? I'm like, he left. He's gone. He's gone. Where'd he go? I'm like, I think he flew home. I don't know. He's gone.
We had a credit card.
We were staying at the Cocoa Inn, and
Yeah.
Brett Danaher couldn't get inside the room because he just decided to camp out in the RV. He slept
Oh
in the
my
RV.
God.
Yeah.
The Cocoa.
You take the kid out of Huffman.
No, can't take the kid out of the RV.
Oh man,
That was good times. But
that was
I
good.
remember-
That was one of the times I quit.
Yeah. They were.
We had
couple.
some good stories, dude. Some good times.
I know.
We've even gotten in fights.
Who, you and me?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, of course.
No fists were. It was more passive aggressive fights.
Yes, which we're
Yeah.
both very good at.
We were real good at, and then Brendon would. I always knew when Brendon was upset because I would wake up the next day and the bus was spotless.
Dude, that's how I took it out on everybody. I would clean the hell out of the bus.
Shit,
Yeah,
that's like
Justin would come out and was like, "What happened to Brendon?" Just looking around. I was cleaning the bus.
Why is Brendon mad? It's clean. The bus is totally clean.
Yeah, it's good times. It's good times.
It's amazing.
Oh, all right. So now that you're got this position, but seriously, dude, seriously, I'm asking as a friend, what's my chances of getting in this Hall of Fame?
The Hall of Fame.
Michael wants to be in the
When
Hall
am I
of
getting in
Fame.
this Texas Music Hall of Fame?
Are you talking about the Texas State Music Museum proposition?
I don't want to be in a museum.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know about
I don't want
the
kids
Hall.
skipping over my exhibit.
Yeah. I don't know about the Hall of Fame. I don't know what they're going to do there. There's a
Isn't there like a Texas Country Hall of Fame or is just a Texas Music Hall of Fame?
See, that's the thing is there are like a few places that honor musicians around the state. There are a bunch of private spots. There's like one in Carthage. There's one in Irving. They're all over the place that like honor.
There's not one cohesive,
Right.
like the Tejano Award, Music Awards. Nothing like that.
Right. So there's no, there's a Country Music Hall of Fame in Nashville.
No
But
chance.
there's no like Texas Music Museum that's sponsored by the state, right?
Right.
It doesn't exist. Now, there are two pieces of legislation, and one in the House and one in the Senate right now, creating that. So
Really?
if those two pass,
I
the
see
Senate.
a light bulb over Adam's head right now.
Can we get a statue of Michael?
No.
Well, maybe when he dies a long time ago, or a long time from now.
Dude,
and-
I've died years ago.
Freudian slip.
I've been dead for years, dude. Dead
So
inside.
the Senate passed their part. If the House passes theirs, then all that's got to happen is the governor's got to sign it, and then it'll happen. They're already building. They're already going to build the building. It sounds like so.
A building for this.
Yeah, it'll be directly across from the Bob Bullock.
Is your blue fiddle going in there? When you die, of course.
To get in.
Well, yeah, maybe before I die. Sure, of course. It'll be built into the front door. They
They're
can see
going
it
to
every
put
time they
Adam's
go in.
beard in there.
Yeah.
It'll just be the glasses and the beard, nothing else.
The Hall of Beard is what
I
we'll
think
do.
I recorded the first session you ever played on the blue fiddle because I remember you had just gotten it on the road.
In Nashville. Yeah, that's
and,
right.
And you came in and was just like, because Lloyd was like, no, blue fiddle?
What's going on with that?
Yeah.
Are we just going to mention his name every podcast now?
Yeah, I think so.
Lloyd or
Well,
mine?
Hello, Lloyd.
Yours. I think our first
Michael?
I think our first sponsor is Brendon Anthony.
Absolutely.
Yeah. First guest, dude.
First guest.
I feel bad. I feel like I've maybe brought the vibe of the whole thing
No.
to a more
serious
way. I love listening to your podcast because
People need this information, though.
I
They need
laugh.
this information from someone who actually knows what they're talking about and not like me.
Yeah.
Like, can anyone have information besides me speak so people can, like, hear some things that they didn't know about?
Exactly.
probably.
I learned some stuff.
I learned things today.
Dude, how long are the links going to be on the show notes to this thing?
Dude, that's fine.
That's your job.
Yeah.
I bring information with me.
That's good.
That's what I think our gig ought to do. Is it ought to get people a little bit more hip to what's out there.
This is our most informative podcast ever.
We're going to have a dumb one next.
Yeah. We're going to, in fact, as soon as we get Brendon out of here, and you just pay him his money on his way out.
Yeah, $100.
Yeah.
Whoa.
Oh, and my SAG after kicks in on this one.
Well, we take taxes out and then we pay on the 15th.
Yeah.
Great.
So
Great.
I think you got to wait another couple of weeks.
It's fine.
All right. This is good. Let's just stop here before
This
we
is
ruin it.
fantastic.
We're ruining it right now.
Brendon, friend, thank you.
Adam and Michael, thanks for having me on. This is a real honor. I love listening to the podcast. I really do. It's a lot of fun.
We'll make the other one funny.
Good.
Next one.
Good.
This one might end up being a two-parter.
No, I just make it long.
Make it long.
I get some requests that are too short, and then some people are like, yeah, they're too long.
They're too long. Yeah.
You can't please everybody.
Can't please everybody all the time.
That's the bad truth, dude.
Well, here's the thing. It's like we could sit here and tell road stories all day, and they'd be really fun. We get the informative
Okay.
side. It gets a little, yeah, but it gets a little. I can understand. Like someone tunes in and is like, "What am I listening to for an hour and a half?
Yeah.
Like this is boring as shit."
He's got some random rubber band in his car.
Hey, mix
Okay.
it in. Maybe split this one up. You can talk. You can say you can have your funny banner in between. You just drop pieces of info.
We'll just put a lot of ridiculous sound effects that shouldn't be there.
Yeah. Laughter when it's all serious.
All right, we're done. It's over.
Yeah. It's
All right.
I thought it was over.
Thank you, Brendon.
Thank you, Brendon, and social media, blah, blah, blah. Follow Adam, not me.
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Fair enough.
There we go. Done.